Hi, this is Johnathan Tripp, and this is my submission for the Voice Interaction Program Lab for Computer Science 631. To begin, I'll answer some of the questions from this assignment. As far as how voice is going to impact the future of web development, I think that the high adoption rate of voice interaction devices such as Google Home and Amazon Alexa have really shown how willing people are to interact with their devices through voice, as opposed to maybe some other interaction means, such as motion controls, for example. So I think in the future we'll see a lot more developers embracing voice as a way of interacting with programs, especially on the web. For security and privacy issues, I think one of the biggest issues facing voice interaction is the inability to distinguish between different people possibly exposing personal data. So one example of this might be if you have your calendar linked to something like Google Home and somebody else asks for information about you, like events you have coming up, that the device won't be able to distinguish between the two people and might give away your information. Both Google and Amazon are kind of attempting to resolve this issue by creating voice profiles that you can train to recognize your voice against somebody else's. However, these solutions aren't perfect. They can be fooled, and so better methods definitely need to be developed to kind of increase privacy and security further. For any issues I had during this project, the only real issue I had, I kind of followed Amazon's documentation and tutorials to get started, but the getting started tutorial I followed had code on GitHub that kind of served as the backbone for this application, but it was using an older version of the Alexa SDK, which no longer works. So I had to kind of find that SDK elsewhere on my own and compile the Node.js package and then upload it to AWS to get the skill to function. Which, by the way, I created an Amazon Alexa skill for this program, and let me discuss that a bit. So the skill that I created is essentially just a simple voice interaction program. You ask a question or submit a query and you get a response, and it's based off of the comedian John Mulaney, who's somebody that I enjoy a lot. So the basic premise is that you can submit statements or questions to this bot, a couple predefined ones that give you a certain response, or you can just request a quote, which will give you a quote back from one of his stand-up specials. So as you can see, there are several intents here that handle certain commands from users. This one allows 2 different commands for the same intent. And then there are some basic pre-built intents for things like canceling actions, asking for help, or stopping the application. You can see how those intents are broken down in JSON for the application here. And as far as the back-end code for this application, that's done through a Node.js script connected through a Amazon Lambda function on AWS. So you can see the sort of part of the key for that here. So as far as the actual code for this application, most of it is within this index.js file, which defines some of the strings that the skill can respond with, as well as event handlers that correspond to the different intents for the application. So with that being said, I'll show a brief demonstration of this. If I type a simple question into this, let's see.
Beat it, bozo.
So as you can see, I asked the bot a question that falls within the category of sort of queries that it's able to answer, and it responded with a small quote from one of this comedian's stand-up specials. I can ask another one.
One black coffee.
So there's yet another quote from one of his stand-up specials. And then you can also just ask for, let's see,
Here's a quote for you, Datu. Ducklings.
so the formatting on this is a bit off, but as you can see, yet again, it returns another quote from one of his specials. One thing I found interesting about this program is that Amazon has what's called a speech synthesis markup language, which you can use to kind of add tone and inflection into the responses that Alexa gives. I didn't really have time to implement this into this project, but that'd certainly be something interesting to look into to kind of give the voice of Alexa a bit more character. And one final thing, this is the Amazon Lambda function for this application. Basically, this just allows me to connect the Amazon skill to the Node.js application that really powers this bot. So that's been it for my submission. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.